Welcome to the Peelecast, conversations about Jordan Peele's films. I am Tyler McDowell Blanken, and I am joined by my Gimmick Infringement podcast partner, Brad Winchester, and NBA Finals File co-host, Jabari Davis. Gentlemen, we are here. It's Peelecast. I'm so excited to dig into these movies with you guys. How are you both?
Absolutely great to be here, and really looking forward to this project. Like, as soon as you guys even mentioned this, I said, okay, so I got to go back and rewatch because,
Absolutely.
Peele's one of my favorites.
Yes, you're not alone there. So happy you're here, Jabari. Brad, I just saw you a few days ago.
Yes.
We're back. It's great to see you as always, man.
Yeah.
How are you?
Likewise, doing well on vacation. What a great way to spend vacation, getting to watch Jordan Peele's films over again, even the uncomfortable parts. I'm telling you, man, like there's parts of Nope that just make me just grimace every single time. But then I love going in because I find something new every time I watch. Really excited to do this.
Yeah, it's absolutely a hallmark of Peele's work. We're going to dive deep into this. So, guys, I think the best way to start is to just give some background to our audience here about how this idea was conceptualized. So, Brad, you and I have shared our love for Peele. And then I think at some point when we created a Twitter separate message DM situation with Jabari, we have our own chat going where we send, what would you guys say? We send basketball, hip hop, wrestling. It's a very eclectic group that we formed. And somehow, I think probably around the time Nope came out, somehow we shifted the conversation toward each of our loves for Peele and the brilliance that he's put on screen. So what do you guys remember about how we formed this idea that led us to where we're at today? Was it, did it originate with Nope?
Yeah, I think so, because it was in July and it was, we were just super pumped that it was coming out. We were both sharing when we were going to the theater, when we were going to catch it,
So
how excited we were, and then our experience after it, and then we were just talking about it. So yeah, it was just around the time of Nope, because when did Us come out? Us came out in
2019.
I was going to say, I want to say it was pre-pandemic.
For sure.
Yeah, so it definitely wasn't any sooner than Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and for me,
that sound about right?
It was definitely around then because even after the fact, because I was late to the party. Remember, I didn't see Nope until about a month and a half ago, or probably about a month after it came out. And I was doing my best to avoid spoilers. And then I realized, okay, I'm just being a fool. I have to go ahead and watch this now. It's probably the one that I should have rewatched, but for whatever reason, I rewatched the first two.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I think that's a great transition for us. So we were talking about how to craft this, and rather than just giving a review of each film and then 3 hours later we're done with this episode, we're going to break this into a few different sections. We're going to talk about how Peele uses religion, the symbolism of animals, and then a reflection on Black characters in horror films, where it was, where it is now, and maybe the future of that. And then, of course, we'll end our time together with just an overall reflection on what Peele has done with these three films and the legacy that we believe he is creating with this brilliance. So, guys, I think we should start with the topic of religion in Peele's films. We see religion as a consistent factor, a consistent motif, if you will, through or during Get Out, 2017, obviously Peele's massive debut, huge success. Brad, you referenced this, 2019's Us, and then, of course, 2022's Nope. Religion is seen in all three films. I want to just give some quick background on this, some quick examples, then I want to pass it to you guys. So in Get Out, first, we have Mr. Armitage playing the role of God. If you remember, this is one of my favorite scenes in Get Out. I still get chills, y'all. When the reveal happens to Chris, right? They're in the living room and Rose says, "I have the keys, babe. I've had them the whole time. Like this is your demise." Right before that, the dad gives this really dramatic soliloquy to Chris right in front of the fireplace. And the dad says, "We are the gods. We are here to control your body." So I think maybe we should just start with Get Out first. Guys, what do you remember about religion in Get Out? And just your overall experience watching that film?
I
Jabari, you
went.
want to? Oh, Brad, you want to
Oh,
get
I
kicked
was
off?
going to
Yeah.
say I went into a no pun intended here, given the animal conversation later, but I went down a rabbit hole with this. I have a lot, so I was actually going to say Jabari, if you want to give your thoughts first, that would make more sense. Um, yeah, I have an absolute ton on this.
Well, I mean, for me, Get Out is probably the most obvious with it. Like they straight out say, like, we're playing God. Peele does this a lot, and like I don't know whether it's whether it's so familiar to me because within the Black community, even if you're not like overly religious, religion and like religious concepts kind of are always, I don't want to say we're inundated by them, but we're kind of like always presented with them, one way or another, especially if you're
It's a
dealing
part
with
of the culture,
like
right?
the older folk. Thank you. It's a part of the culture. So it's almost like he can't. It's almost like he can't help but like have that be a part, at least a part of the conversation with with his movies. But in particular with Get Out, I love well, for one, all of his movies are total social commentary, but I love the fact that he's just like very like right in your face with it with that. And what's funny to me is I realize that not everybody has the same experience when they watch that movie. I'm not even saying whether it's a black or white thing. Maybe just like an awareness thing. If you watch it as just a straight up horror movie, yeah, it's entertaining. But if you actually pay attention to what he's saying throughout, and I'm sure we're going to touch on these like all throughout this conversation, it's corny, but there are levels to this.
There
Yeah,
absolutely are.
yeah.
Brad, you got levels.
I was going to say I'll get into that later. First, my thoughts on the film.
Yeah.
I thought out of the three that we've seen so far, this one was the most consistently put together in terms of the movie also representing the theme. It didn't feel like, oh, I have an idea for this film, and here's the message I want to send to the audience. This one felt the most like they're the same thing. The idea and the message were the same part, which is why I think it's such a memorable and such a powerful movie, is because they were one and the same. Where Us felt like this would be a really cool way. I have this idea. What message can I send? And same thing with Nope. This would be really cool. Here's the message I want to send. I don't think that at least this is outside looking in. Get Out feels like it was created the other way around. I saw this years after it came out. It was or year after it came out. I can't remember. It was I didn't go to the theater to see it. I didn't know what I was missing. It was also the year of Freya when she was born, so little busy, and we weren't going anywhere near the smell of popcorn when Jess was pregnant. So yeah, absolutely not. So I know it was a Black Friday impulse buy. I went in, they had a whole bunch of them there, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna absolutely scoop this for $4.99.
I remember DVDs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
2017.
Yes.
digital code, bring it back to Bookman's, get store credit. The end. I did it the day of. I would redeem the code and then go bring back the basically brand new physical discs and just be like, just give me money.
I am not going to knock your hustle, Brad.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at
absolutely. So that was my first time seeing it. Jess did not watch it with me. She still has not seen. I don't think she's seen anything but Nope at this point.
Oh wow.
That's right. I'm telling you. But yeah, it was absolutely like I've never seen anything like this before. It was incredible, absolutely groundbreaking.
Yeah, Brad, it's funny you mentioned your experience about scooping the DVD and watching it at home. I'm curious what my experience would have been like if I did that. I actually saw this in the theater. In fact, this is back when I was in Tucson, and two of my friends and I somehow got an advanced screening. The U of A had this opportunity. I think they sent it via email or posted it on campus. And one of my friends was hip to it, and we got to go to the El Con Theater, actually. If you are familiar with Southern Arizona, you know the El Con movie theater. We got to see it, I think, like a week before it came out. Just absolutely wild. I know, right? And full theater. And when I tell you guys, I don't think I've said this on air before. When I tell both of you, this was my first time going to a theater and feeling like I just partook in an experience, a collective experience. When I've gone to the theater before, of course, some movies elicit more emotion than others. Fast and Furious, right? Like the crowd gets kind of hype. There are other great examples, but for whatever reason, or I think we know the reason, Get Out just really touched that audience in a special way. Jabari, I don't know about you, but at my theater, people were were responding to the movie, responding to the actions. Obviously, Lil Rel, total unsung hero of this movie. The audience just loved every scene with him. Chris, Rose, the audience. It was just such a collective experience we had, and I think that really just impacted my love. I think I would have loved the film regardless if I scooped the DVD, Brad. But I just have such a fond memory of 2017 with my two friends at this packed Elcon theater, and everyone walking away from the movie saying, "Whoa, that was amazing. I love what I just saw. I don't know really what I just saw, but I love it. And I'm going to come back next week to see it again, but actually pay for it this time." Jabari, I want to pass it to you there.
Well, yeah, no, like to that point, the only movie experience that I can that I can even reference that compares to it was when I saw a Black Panther in the theater, where like it was folk, like look, there were folks we were dachiki'd out, we had all type like folks were interacting with that movie, but it was the same for this one, and you know how it gets sometimes, in certain neighborhoods. I won't even say with certain communities. In certain neighborhoods, there's more interaction with the film. For this one in particular, especially since this wasn't like I think I saw it opening night, if I'm not mistaken, but everybody went there and everybody understood like, hey, look, this is just gonna be one of those movies where it's gonna be some talking to the screen. It's gonna be 3D without the 3D glasses, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It did not disappoint whatsoever. Just an absolute critical smash success. And if we look back at Religion now in the other two films, I think, Jabari, you brought up a great point about it being most obvious. I would also add and maybe even argue that in Us and Nope, it's really in front of us. Instead of just a character portraying God in a sense, in Us, we are given on screen Jeremiah 11:11 that states, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them." Guys, I want to know, what did you make of Us? Because I think Peele was in a really interesting predicament of Get Out being, again, this overwhelming success. And then Us came out and it was so much different than Get Out that I think some audiences kind of rejected it. They went and saw it, they supported it, but they didn't love it as much as Get Out. I think Peele took some risks in the film that didn't work for some audiences. So, Brad, I want to pass it to you. Religion and Us, the Jeremiah 11:11 quote, and overall, your thoughts on Us. Did it hit the highs that Get Out did for you?
Yes, but not nearly in the same way. The highs that I had in Get Out, like what you guys said, where I grew up, there was not a lot of interacting with films, with cinema. But every once in a while, we go visit family in Detroit. Much different experience. Much different experience. This was I don't often yell at my TV. With Get Out, I was yelling at my TV. With Us, I was just sort of riding it out and going to like, all right, we're halfway through, and now I kind of know what's up. And I don't think it really caught me until the twist at the end, because the most of the rest of it, I was like, I feel like I've seen something like this before. This is sort of like a Invasion of the Body Snatchers type deal.
Yep.
And there's obvious homages in there. I'll tell you, Get Out faked me out, because at the end of Get Out, I thought we were getting a Night of the Living Dead situation where it's like, oh, good, our characters survived only to be killed by the helpers. And
can we talk about that, Brad? What do you guys? I mean,
GSA
we got to talk
to the rescue.
I have two questions for you guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, Brad. Please make sure you finish your thought in a moment. Don't forget it. Two questions.
We're not done with Get Out.
We're not.
I looked at the script.
I have two questions for you guys about Get Out that must be addressed right now. One, did the movie end properly for you? I'm sure you guys have heard about or even seen the director's cut. Yeah, exactly. That's a better way. The alternate, Brad, ending, which shows Chris being incarcerated. And Jordan Peele is quoted as saying he thought that would be a little too much for the audience, especially in the time we were living in, the social context of 2017. That may be a little too heavy-handed. So let's give the audience a crowd pleaser. Lil Rel, I'm TSA. Consider this shit handled, right? Everyone loved that. So my first question, was that the appropriate ending? And secondly, guys, did any part of you have hope in Rose? Did you know that Rose was evil all along, or were you like me and holding out a a sliver of hope that she was one of the good ones? Jabari.
I'll say straight out, it ended exactly as it needed to, because had it gone that other direction, for one, it would have been too on the nose. It would have been kind of what you would have expected to take place. And I'll be honest with you, look, it's not too often when we like in a horror movie in particular, but in any movie, but in a horror movie in particular, it's not too often when we survive. It
Oh, we'll get
playing
there.
out the way. Yeah, it playing out the way it played out was absolutely perfect. And on the Rose side of things, so remember, I just rewatched this. I'm going to tell you right now, Jordan. For one, I should acknowledge, I think Get Out is one of my top 5 horror movies of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. Like I like that. That's how far on that end of the spectrum I am. But upon rewatch, Jordan Peele did such an incredible job making you feel comfortable from the time when she when you don't realize why she's doing it, when she's defending him with the cops,
When they're stopped,
you realize
yes.
that you realize after the fact she didn't want a paper trail, but
She
like
didn't want the paper trail. Yes.
but like defending him to the from her family and making all the comments, they really sold it. And you know what? Shout out to, I think it's Allison Williams. Shout out to her because she
Great
absolutely nailed the performance. You know what, Jordan Peele, you're an SOB because you had me fooled again, even though I already knew what was coming. I was like, yo, maybe she wasn't so nope, yep, she was. I have an Easter egg for you that I actually just realized today, and eventually we'll get there, but it's regarding Lakeith.
Oh wow, we got to talk about
you guys probably already recognized it. I didn't realize it until today.
Wow, that's a great teaser. Brad, correct ending, and did you have hope in Rose at all at any point?
Correct for who? So that's the really big question here. So you two have obviously a very different viewing experience than I do. That was the correct ending for a film to make people happy, to send them home happy after all of it is so awful and kind of hopeless. To not end it totally terribly. If he would have done the other ending, it would have won Best Picture, not just Best Screenplay. If he would have done the non-comedy or the non-happy ending, I guess we'll call it, absolutely would have been Best Picture. Or if like a car hit them or something at the end, like just terrible things, just some sort of horrible tragedy. Like I said, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
End it like that, and that thing's walking away with Oscars.
And you're telling me Rod has to die in that situation as well for them to get the
I don't think Rod ever shows up. That's the only way.
Yeah, Rod doesn't make it.
It would have to be
we get no Rod.
It'd have to be that sheriff. That'd have to be that sheriff or sheriff's deputy from earlier on. It would have to be that guy. Yeah, well, it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
And also we would have been talking about how terrible it is and how too lifelike it was. If that better question, and then we'll go into the religion part. Do you think the ending is different if this was made today?
Jabari, you gotta take that one first.
I don't think so. I think you hit it on the head. If you're going for for the awards, you go for that. If you're going for if you want to stay true to the to what that movie was bringing, then you get it's made the same way. And I would hope I would hope that Jordan Peele would make it that way again. I guess you never know, and maybe things would be maybe things would be different at this stage. But what do you think, Tyler?
I agree with you, actually. I think that has to be the appropriate ending. I'm intrigued. Like when I first learned that Peele had that alternate ending, it's definitely intriguing. And it wasn't an immediate, that I'm not here for this alternate ending. I had to think about it, but Brad, I think it was the appropriate ending in 17. And I think today we need it as well. To Jabari's earlier point, sometimes you just got to satisfy an audience.
Yeah.
Brad, you were mentioning in AEW Orange Cassidy won tonight as we record. Like sometimes you just got to give it to us, even if it's not going to make sense, or you could do this other thing and get like Jabari said, get the hardware, just make audiences happy. I think in 17, and obviously you could argue that some progress has been made socially since then, some not so much. It seems like we hear names of our Black and brown sisters every day who are killed senselessly. I think we just really needed a collective laugh and exhale in 17, and then certainly if this came out in 2022.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I just wanted to pose the question. I think it was I can't imagine it without that ending. That ending was it was perfect.
And I think what Peele did masterfully here, this isn't necessarily religion based, but he really he showed people themselves with this film. And it wasn't, what I love is that it wasn't, the villains weren't wearing their Confederate flag denim jackets. Brad, you and I are familiar with the Confederate flag. We've seen that a few times in the area where we're at. We know it's a struggle, and there's still conversations about it's my heritage versus the harm this image causes. So my long point is that it would be one thing if the villains, were chewing their tobacco and were rocking the all denim look with the flag on it, but these folks were supposed to be quote unquote woke. They were liberal. Rose's dad would have voted for Obama a third time if he had the chance.
Yeah.
So I think what he did here was really masterful, that you want to believe in those folks, and they seem like, oh no, these are good people. Like, they're democratic, they're liberal. Maybe their values seem to align with mine as the viewer. I love Barack. Dad loves Barack. But then they totally flip it. And I think that I don't recall a movie doing that, showing in particular white liberals perhaps some of their flaws.
Hosting a party made out of microaggressions.
Do either of you guys believe in the fan theory that he was 100% commenting on liberal Hollywood with those characters and with it? Because you've heard it a million times. And look, I'm just going to tell you straight out, like, I've been to gatherings like that. Like, I haven't been, like, not with the auctioneer. But I was going to say,
Jabari, I hope not. You need to. No, we need to get somewhere else.
I mean, hey, look, I did move to Southern Arizona. No, but I've been to gatherings like that. Being from Southern California, where there is very much a different conversation that's being taken. Okay, have you guys seen the movie Finding Forrester?
Yes.
Remember? Okay, so like when there you go. So like when my man goes to the other school, and all of a sudden it's culture shock for everyone, but in particular, like like they're treating him like a statistic, and all of the like, as you just mentioned or alluded to, like the microaggressions, like beyond. I grew up in that type of setting. Most of the schools that I went to, that's exactly what it was like. So for me, and maybe maybe that's why this movie stands out so much for me, or maybe that's particularly why it hit so much for me, because I felt like, what, Jordan, we had some similar experiences growing up. We have been told, oh, you speak so well. We have been told, oh, yeah. I mean, dog, from the start.
Very articulate you are.
Oh, wow. Unless you display any sort of anger or aggression, then all of a sudden it's the end of the world. But no, so like when I saw this party, I actively laughed in the theater, because I was just like, yeah, I know that person. Yeah, I absolutely know someone that would have said that. I know people's parents that have absolutely told me things like they like that were said to him. So
even the Tiger Woods example.
Oh,
you guys remember that?
Dog,
he does love Tiger.
Yeah. Listen. I have been in settings where where someone didn't know what to say, and they just said something like Shaq, huh? I'm like, what? What the fuck? We weren't talking about basketball. I wasn't even wearing this hat.
You may not even watch basketball. You may not even.
No, it could have been anything.
Maybe you're a tennis guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe you don't mess with sports.
Nadal might have been my guy, or maybe I wanted to discuss I don't know microbiology. But my point is, I've been that guy. I've been the Daniel Kaluuya, not the Lakeith portion of that scene, but the Daniel Kaluuya where I'm good. Actually, I've absolutely been in that setting, and Jordan Peele does a masterful job of breaking that all down.
Yeah, Brad, I got to pass it to you.
I didn't trust her for a second. I wanted to say that first. And here's why: the deer. So right away, deer gets blasted by the car, and she's like, "Good riddance." And she uses language in there that is very Holocausty, very genocide-y. I want all of them gone. One dead one is a better dead one. The more I see, the happier I am.
The dad said that, right? Yeah.
Let's get rid of. No, it was her. I think it was her.
The dad says it later.
He says it later too. Yeah, they're both.
Yeah, he rants about it later.
Yeah, right. Like, it's just. Man, it's just, all of that stuff was just so in your face that it was hard to ignore. Her reaction right away was like, oh, instead of, oh man, this living thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that situation before where we've hit a car, or hit a car, hit a deer in the car. Also been in a situation where a bus hit a deer, but that's for another time. Yeah, not pretty. Looks more like the car crash and Get Out than what it actually looks like in real life. Yeah, absolutely did not trust that at all. But maybe it's also because I watched it much later and I had more of an idea, like, oh, I don't trust anybody in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Man, I had some hope that there was, again, it's just sometimes we can kind of see those villains in our real life of people who just clearly probably have a different viewpoint. Again, as we highlighted, Brad, you and I know it well. Even though we want to believe they have a good heart, just their views can be so seemingly problematic. I had a little bit of hope, guys, that Rose was down for her man. Truly, she broke all of our hearts.
I'm interested. At what point in the movie, when you first watched, was the point when you realized it? Was it all the way to the?
It was all the way. It was all the way, Jabari. It was all the way.
You know, I can't give you these keys. Like when she did that, that was the point.
I take it
probably
back.
The pictures, right? Like,
I was gonna say, the pictures.
Yeah.
The pictures for the audience. Again, this is going back a few years now, but the audience. I just know in my heart that I was not the only one who wanted to believe in Rose. The pictures were just, I would argue, elicited a much stronger reaction than the actual "I can't give you these keys, babe" moment. Because for her to just, for Chris to find the pictures in that door, that open closet door was teased earlier in the film. Little did we know, if Chris would have checked that 24 to 48 hours ago, he possibly could have left. But
so can I give you, all right, and again, this might be the most obvious thing. So your viewers might go like, how did you not realize that? You know, at the beginning when Lakeith is on the phone and he's, I don't remember what his name in the movie is, but when it's Lakeith, when he's on the phone, and he's lost, you know, he's probably on the other line with her, and she's purposely just for whatever reason, I never grasped that, and so
I don't blame you.
When I rewatched it, I was like, wait, he was on the phone with her. And she literally was just keeping him lost.
Probably his brother in the mask too, right? Or
in the white.
It's absolutely. It's absolutely. Yeah.
Can we talk about? I'm so glad you brought that up, Brad. I know, again, this is a little off from religion, but we're talking about how some of these scenes maybe feel familiar. We've seen these characters in our real lives. I would argue the character who I have seen the most is Jeremy, Rose's brother. This
You're not
how, again, we're trying to be honest but keep it respectful at the same time. The sort of archetype of a frat bro, I guess in this case particularly maybe Northeastern. What did you guys make of Jeremy? Because he just completely crawled under my skin from the beginning. His introduction in the backyard, obviously the dinner scene where he's trying to put Chris in a chokehold.
Martial arts,
like this guy just feels way too familiar.
To me, it felt like he was the most honest character in the movie. Like there were no airs. There was no like, oh, I'm not. He wasn't playing along. He wasn't like, they were active. Like you could, if you go back and watch, they're like actively looking like, hey, fool, don't mess this up, man. What are you doing? The whole time he's just like, yeah, I'm a piece of crap. But I'm better than you, and we're just going to use you as the vessel that you are. Like that. That's literally all it was to him. But yeah, it's a very familiar character as well, because there were a lot of Jeremys at my school, a lot.
Arizona, California. Yeah,
it's one and the same.
Yeah, definitely a familiar person. Last question, I guess, for me, the Walter run at night when Chris goes out to have a smoke and he's just sprinting toward the camera, like that was freaky as hell. It was like a non-funny Lancelot in Holy Grail charging at the camera from far away, and then just veering off. It's never really explained what was going on there. So what do you think was happening? Was he like the perimeter fence for Chris in case Chris decided to wander and just scare him back into the house? Or was he trying to break whatever bond? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I think I appreciate the lob, JD. I think of the reveal at the end, or I guess throughout, and then obviously at the end where we learn that that guy, the male groundskeeper, is actually the grandfather, and he never forgot about Jesse Owens beating him back in the day. I take that, I take that as, I mean, certainly, Brad, it could be, making sure Chris doesn't get out. But I guess the guy was just so obsessed with losing to Owens and was so transfixed by being in a black body that at night, homeboy just runs around the forest.
Makes sense.
Miles upon miles in jeans and a coat. And I thought the real genius of that was right after the camera pans to, gosh, I forget her name now, but Georgina in the house. Georgina was just, that actress, Betty Gabriel, phenomenal performance. That's my answer, Brad. Jabari, I saw you nodding your head, so maybe we agree here.
I think that's definitely it. It was 100% the fact that he lost to Jesse Owens. And then, like, they do such a good job of, like, dropping little hints along the way.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they're all upset that he's a smoker. It has nothing to do with them, like, caring about him as a person. They're like, don't mess up this, this perfect black body, because we're going to use this. And you are absolutely, you absolutely need to be in peak form. I think it's definitely connected to that. I definitely think that, the old grandfather, it was just a matter of, hey, those, was it 36 Olympics?
Totally forgot about that. Totally forgot.
Would never that, he lost. So.
Yeah, amazing. So I decided to go take a look at the script when I was trying to find different references. I'm sure if you did the same Google searching that I did, you may have stumbled upon it. But the original script had a little bit of a different thing. Number one, I can't remember the character in the beginning. The one on the phone. What's his name?
Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield. I agree with Jabari. I just want to call him Lakeith.
Okay,
I got you.
Because he had two names, his name and then the name they gave him that began with an L, I think. So he said when walking away, when he said, no, I'm not doing this, he turns around and walks away and he mutters under his breath. In the original script, it just said, nope. And I was like, okay, that's pretty great. But the original script starts off with a Bible verse, much like Nope did. And it was Romans 12, verses 1-2. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. That is, by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. I mean, I can't think of
the plot of the movie.
Fitting. Yes, it's the entire plot of the movie. Right. So the original script, I was geeking out over this stuff. That was an ESV translation. So the plain English version. There's King James, there's NIV, there's ESV, there's NKJV. There's a whole bunch of different translations. All of them have their merits. But the original word in there was beseech. Instead of I appeal, I beseech you, which is a Greek word meaning to call alongside to help. Yes. Paul wrote all of that as a counselor. So that was probably intended for Chris, much like the main theme of the movie, which is written in Swahili, which means listen to your ancestors.
Yes.
So, and then I saw that Peele talked in an interview that it's translated also the rest of the lyrics as something bad is coming, run. And both of those things offer counsel to Chris. So the Romans and that song. So it didn't make it into the film. But it's the only one, even though it didn't make it into it, it's the only one of the three films so far that is a New Testament reference, which I thought was kind of interesting. I'm going to run through all of this stuff real quick, and then I'll get your thoughts here. I'm like a quarter of the way. Okay. So to present our bodies as a living sacrifice is because of the Old Testament required animal sacrifices. This is about sacrificing to the newly saved body as an instrument of righteousness. Spiritual worship, the other word in there was usually reasonable service, which means a life of servitude and sacrifice. So the idea was in the Bible verse, they were saved, so they should sacrifice everything they can because they were saved. The do not be conformed to this world is really a message not to pretend to be something outwardly that you aren't, if you are not that thing inwardly. Basically, Paul was calling out fake Christians right when Christians started to be Christians. This world is all of what we see that is not necessarily biblical in nature and is controlled by Satan. It's a call for something higher. That's the point of that. The message is basically that they were sinners. They have been forgiven, but now they must completely transform into something new. They sinned and then changed. God saved them and made them more. So if they change again in God's service, God will change them and elevate them even more after death. So it's spiritual and eternal riches. So this is like a perverted version of this with the "we are gods" ideas. It implies change and then rejecting God. It's just, I'm taking this change, I made it happen. So it's a perversion, it's a denial of God, and that's what leads to their destruction ultimately, which I think is just it's so good. I wish now that I know this, I wish that there would have been the title card that had the verse on it going into the film. But maybe he thought, no, I'm just giving away the whole game here if I put this in there. Maybe that's why he held off. I don't know, but I thought it was really cool. Your thoughts?
That is amazing. My bad. My bad, Tyler. But like, just quickly, that is amazing, and I think that is probably why he didn't put it in there. But he still hits you over the head with it, because again, I didn't notice this, but
Yeah.
right after that scene, do you guys know the song that it cuts to?
You beat me to it, of course.
Oh no!
Red,
let me turn it right over to you then, please.
Oh no! I think that's perfect, JD. I appreciate it. You're really the Magic Johnson to my Byron Scott
Here we go
right now, and I appreciate that. So yeah, it's Redbone by Childish Gambino, one of the biggest songs of that year. Still so relevant, still gets spins, and it was just so perfect for this film and to introduce these characters to us. And I think, Brad, it just went perfectly along with the messages we were receiving in Swahili to begin the film. It just, again, Peele just did so much right with Get Out in particular. But I want to ask you guys before we leave religion, in Nope, Peele's most recent work, religion is at the forefront again from the very beginning of the film. You'll see when you watch Nope that a text comes on the screen that says, "I will pelt you with filth. I will treat you with contempt and make you a spectacle." Another verse given to audiences. So, guys, I want to know before we leave religion, what did you take away of religion in Nope? Do you think it was used as effectively in this most recent film? You want to start us this time, JD?
I think he's effective no matter what, and in particular, so like I know that we're going to eventually get to Nope, and I'll save like most of my commentary there. I will acknowledge at this stage that while I enjoyed all three, I think Nope is it's not his Godfather 3 because I think it's still better comparatively, like Godfather and the other and the rest, but it's definitely the weakest link, like in this chain.
Really?
For me,
Wow.
only and
Okay.
specifically because he does, like, the imagery is great.
Yeah.
The
It's
like
blockbuster.
the like he's playing on a lot of different things,
Right.
but he left me wanting. It left me wanting a little bit more, even though, again, and I get it, and I get where he was going with that, but
Yeah.
Nope. I'll come back to that because
Well, oh
we're
yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
I have a question or two for you off that. Yeah, Brad, religion in Nope.
In Nope, because we skipped us, Tyler. So I'm going to bring it
We
back.
kind of threw it out there and didn't even. Please do. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the Jeremiah quote,
Yeah.
and we'll save the rest of it for when we talk about us. But Jeremiah was a prophet 100 years after Isaiah. He predicted doom for Judah and warned of a coming calamity. So in Old Testament fashion, he was totally ignored by all the people he was pleading to. Babylon and Egypt eventually fought over the territory. Babylon won. Judah revolted. Babylon crushed them so hard that they ended up having to dip to Egypt, and Jeremiah probably died there yelling at the people. So the quote was, "Behold, I will surely bring calamity on them, which they will not be able to escape. And though they cry out to me, I will not listen to them." So it's a pretty straightforward quote. But the passage is really about them bringing it upon themselves. And in us, we find out that the tethered was a creation of the U.S. government. So right there, it's a calamity brought on themselves. So now going into I can never say, I think it's Nahum. in Nope. 3 to 6, I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle. So that one's also pretty in your face. But also might hopefully not be in your face. But I'll go into that in a second. Go ahead, Jabari.
In a weird way, it feels like like using the religion, or like the religious messages that he's using in the first two films are more of like, hey, look, if you do this, this takes place. And I guess, in Nope, that's still the case, but it's almost more of like, I'm going to punish you. Like, I'm issuing actual judgment and punishment.
Yeah.
And and maybe I need to think that through a little bit more, and possibly that makes Nope even stronger of a story than I was giving it credit for. But
okay, I like that.
It almost feels like that. Whereas in the first two, it's like, this is what takes place because you did this. Whereas in Nope, it's like, hey, don't look up, man. Like you don't even have to you commit the sins or the atrocities that the other folks around you have. You will also feel this wrath if you get in the way in a weird way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what it is. I thought I had to think long and hard about it. Like I guess it's all like all Peele's films. It requires a rewatch. Then you watch it totally differently the second time through, and you're like, oh my God, this is obvious. And oh, that's really cool. Oh, they did come back to that. I just missed it. Sometimes the references are so fast that you don't notice that they were references at all until you watch it again, which sometimes is really, really good. It makes a deep, rich story. And sometimes it's not great because, like you said, it might leave you at the end going, well, I wanted more. So it was another prophet talking about destruction of Assyria, especially Nineveh. So it was about exposing and shaming Nineveh for not listening to God. God basically says Nineveh will have a prostitute's punishment. It's about being exposed publicly, and I'm going to shame you publicly. And then it kind of ends with, I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile. Right before that, it says your skirts will be pulled over your heads and you will be exposed to the world. So the whole spectacle in Nope comes entirely from the viewers being sucked into the attraction, literally. And that's the thing that ultimately ends them. And there's a whole lot of symbolism in here that refers to that. I'm not sure if we should save it here because it's about spectacle in Nope. I feel like I'm going to save it. I'll save that part for Nope, but it relates to another part of the spectacle.
That was fantastic. Jabari, our man did his homework here. I knew you would deliver,
Oh,
Brad.
yeah.
That was an absolute, that was magnificent. Thank you for sharing that. Peelecast is a 19 Media Group production. You can find 19 Media Group at 19M Group, and you can find each of us on Twitter at Tyler J. McDowell, at Win Duster, and at Jabari Davis NBA.